So one of my favorite things that currently happens on the internet is when a CEO crawls out of their money cocoon and tries to be a regular person. And today we have a very silly instance of that. This particular case revolving around the game Rideshare Simulator, which is an up-and-coming game on Steam from Saber Interactive. Saber Interactive being a fairly large publisher with some well-known games and staffing around 3,000 people. So a big company, all right. Well, Saber Interactive ran into some trouble recently on Blue Sky when the writer for Rideshare Simulator announced that she had been replaced by ChatGPT, and that the publisher was now using generative AI tools for not only the dialogue of the game, but the actual voices of the passengers who were saying it, which is definitely not great. That is not a look you want for your upcoming game, but I think the kind of insidious part was that Saber Interactive had also failed to note the use of generative AI on Rideshare's Steam page. So I think regardless of your position on AI, I think it should just always be mandatory that if there is AI use in a game, obviously they should say that on the Steam page, because that way you're giving people an actual choice. And if you don't do that, it's kind of fucking a little creepy. You're being a little bit of a little tiny goblin weirdo, you know? And it's like I've always said it in these videos before, like the very least you can do is just note it. Saber Interactive did not do that, and this whole thing about letting their writer go, that's not great. However, Saber Interactive got back with a statement about this, and in terms of PR statements, I gotta say, this one is just chef's kiss, beautiful. The publicity department really knew how to do their job here. Listen to this. Neither Saber nor Unigine have replaced any writers with AI for Rideshare or any other games. In fact, Saber's staff of writers has tripled since 2023. Rideshare Story was written entirely by real people. So you got to admire just how well they can kind of like tilt the angle of this story. They're focusing purely on the claims of like writing and the story of the game, nothing about the voices or anything like that. The game will also feature an experimental free ride mode that by necessity incorporates AI, as the number of passengers in the game is infinite. We are firm believers in using AI tools to improve or enhance gameplay experiences and improve NPC behavior, as we have done since Saber was founded in 2001. As an industry continues to contract, Saber continues to hire. None of our 3,000 plus employees have to worry about being replaced by AI. So just some real slick stuff there, highlighting the fact that they're growing while downplaying their whole use of AI. That's like, I would say at this point, Saber Interactive have kind of nothing burgered this story, and at least in like public perception, sort of gotten away with it. You're still going to piss off like people like me who just generally despise AI, but among like a broader audience, among like anyone who is excited for Rideshare Simulator, and I'm guessing they have to exist, you've probably negated the damage. And that is until our boy Matthew Karch steps out onto stage. So according to people who worked on Rideshare Simulator, there's been this whole struggle between people who are actually making that game and like the C-suite level executives, one of whom once fired back in an argument, "Gamers love new tech," which, you know, they're not wrong, but I'm not sure it quite counts this. But anyway, after the allegations from the writer, Matthew Karch, the CEO, then puts out a statement. And you can tell he's pretty mad about being besmirched like this. He is not happy. And so he decides to come out just swinging here. So in speaking on Stella Sacco, the fired writer, he said, "Stella, who? I had to ask Claude because I have never spoken to her or seen her." Right out the gate there with little AI humor, which everyone will definitely love. We have already said we are using AI for certain parts of this game and will update it on the Steam page once we have finalized the feature set. Let me clarify that the entire story script, were to win an award, would go to someone who can walk up on stage and receive it. I know that this isn't what he meant, But when I read that, I just pictured one of those robots that like collapses and shits itself and dies, trying to accept an award. I know that's not what he meant, but even like the wording there, I think it's so strangely, oddly specific. Were it to win an award, would go to someone who can walk up on stage and receive it. Like it just feels like it's kind of designed in this hyper specific way that it could kind of mean as long as a human can go up and hold that award. I didn't say that the person didn't use it. Like it's really weird. It was always our intention to reveal this until Stella violated her confidentiality clause and revealed this before we were ready. We look at our use of AI in this particular game, which will be a lower priced title, as a plus for consumers, he said. So this is actually like a little bit of pushback I got in my recent just rant about AI. Like the cases when it's okay to use generative AI. And I had like a lot of different people giving examples, like, you know, some people talking about artists with like disabilities. And what I'll say is like, there are so many fucking amazing artists with every spectrum of physical disability you could imagine, still creating like incredible shit. And it's like, if they can do it, you can do it, you know? But I've also seen a really weird one as well where people are like, but what if I'm not talented? And it's like, dude, if you're not talented at the thing that you want to be good at and AI is your answer, go find something you're actually talented at. Like that's the answer. The answer is, oh, well, I guess you can't do this professionally. You can still do it as a hobby. You can still, you know, try and put like spare hours into it and maybe it gets going somewhere that way. But if you're like, I'm not going to be successful enough doing the thing I wanted to do, then the answer is you can't do it professionally. It'll either just be a hobby, but the good news is that you're probably good at something. That's just evolution. You just have to try enough shit to find it. I cannot tell you all the shit I did before I started doing YouTube that did not work out. Like genuinely, like a dozen plus things. I was 29 when I started my YouTube channel, okay? It's no excuse. Anyway, he goes on. As far as Stella is concerned, she was replaced by someone more talented and terminated for a variety of reasons a few months later. From what I can gather, she enjoys controversy even more than I do. This statement leads me to believe otherwise. I would frankly, in retrospect, have been happy to replace her with AI. That is a fucking insane statement, defending the fact that you didn't replace someone by AI, but being like, I should have. Like, that is wild. What a bananas fucking thing to say. Oh my god. At least then we would be dealing with someone programmed to be honest. Okay, I feel like in this moment, the like fake person CEO mask kind of slips off and you see the fucking T2000 underneath and it's like,
humans. What a complicated resource to harvest.
Shockingly, this didn't go down great, and Karch got absolutely just roasted upon the altar online. And then Karch actually did something pretty, like, I'm not going to say clever, I'm going to say reasonable. He reached out to Sacco and apologized. Sacco writes on her Blue Sky, "Hey everyone, last night, to my great surprise, I received a long email from Saber Interactive CEO Matt Karch. He apologized unreservedly for the awful way he spoke about me in the press. The email's full text will stay between us. I'm not that kind of girl, but I have confirmed it was from him." So, okay, like, you realize you fucked up, and you're trying to do something about it. Now, you're trying to do something about it because you got caught, and that's not great. It would have been better to do something before that, and it would have been even better not to do anything at all. But hey, look, we're all human. Mistakes happen. If people change their ways, then, you know, that's the only thing that really matters. I guess that's the end of the video. I guess old Matt made no more fuck-ups until Saber Interactive did end up putting their AI label on Rideshare Simulator, and it says a couple of things. It says which part of the games uses AI writing and which parts don't. But on top of there absolutely being AI writing in there, as well as voice-generated lines, there's this little tidbit. The game also includes a mix of radio stations featuring human-made music and AI-generated music. Stations containing AI-generated music are clearly labeled as such in the game. So not only does the game contain AI writing and AI voice lines, it also contains AI music, which, Jesus Christ, buddy, come on. And that is the last time that Karch fucked up. Except, in the wake of all this, a video came out from writer Chet Failzek, who I would be quite confident I'm not pronouncing that correctly, so apologies, Chet. But and this is a former industry writer, worked on just a ton of stuff, worked on Portal, has just been around forever, kind of seen and done it all. And he released a video criticizing the initial response from Matt. And you'd think that Matt maybe learned to just leave it and to not escalate this any further, only to address the video in a LinkedIn blog update. And wow, okay, just listen to this. Media relationships have boundaries. Journalists and commentators have a job to do, and driving engagement will always take priority over personal rapport. It's a professional dynamic, not a personal friendship, and should be treated as such. I found that little piece like just kind of baffling. I don't understand how you could ever confuse those things, especially as a CEO, but it continues. Consider the source of online commentary. The digital ecosystem thrives on outrage and surface-level takes. Case in point, a 26-minute video essay from a well-known writer of some classic games who dedicated it entirely to analyzing a single sarcastic quote of mine, pretending he knew exactly who I am, which somehow concluded with personal remarks about my physical anatomy and encouragement to accost me. Now, I did actually watch the video, and Chet does spend a little bit of time implying that a small penis is involved somewhere. And, people will say stuff like that. My advice to Karch is to not comment on it, because then people think it's true, regardless of whether it is true or not. That's not me implying anything. I don't know, and I don't care to know. It's just that kind of effect where if you get too defensive about it, then it seems like it's true. Anyway. When industry analysis devolves into personal insults and threats, I would like to remind you that this man literally made personal insults about the writer he fired. He also fired them. It says far more about the creator than it does the subject. Relying on outrage algorithms for industry insights is a trap. Look, people thrive on negativity. The entire fucking online ecosystem, that is clearly it. It does not excuse stupidity, and it does not excuse when the source of outrage is something you said and meant directly. You fired this woman and then insulted her and then said you wished that you had replaced her with AI. It doesn't matter how tongue-in-cheek you got about it. That's insane, and people calling you insane is not people farming outrage culture. But my favorite part of this entire spiel comes here. This is like the final appeal from Matt. Resolve issues human to human. Escalating disputes through media channels or public statements rarely solves anything. Real resolution happens through direct personal connection. How can someone defending their use of AI stake their entire counter argument on direct personal connection? It's like, dude, you are so close to seeing it. You are so close. Can you not see that the human element is what's important here? You just said that in your argument about not firing someone for using AI. Oh. Wacky times, gamers. Wacky, wacky times.